Ted Turner died today. Every channel has the same story ready. The visionary, the billionaire, the man who built CNN. And that story is true. But there is a part they keep skipping. Not what he built, but what he decided to believe about himself before any of it existed. That is what this video is about. This is 1979. ABC, CBS, and NBC had all studied it. The research was clear. Nobody wants 24-hour news. It was too much, too expensive, not what audiences wanted. Ted Turner sold his only profitable TV station and did it anyway. The industry called it Chicken Noodle Network. NBC's Washington bureau chief told Time he was a monster that couldn't sustain itself. The first year alone, $16 million in losses. 5 straight years of losses. Then 1991, the Gulf War. The whole world watching CNN live from Baghdad because no one else had built what Turner built. He said this about the big networks afterward. They should have done this, not me. But they didn't have the imagination. This isn't a Ted Turner story. It is a pattern. 1999, Barron's magazine puts Jeff Bezos' face on a cartoon bomb. Headline, Amazon that bomb. The stock dropped 95%. Experts agreed it was over. 2007, Steve Ballmer, Microsoft CEO, on record. There is no chance the iPhone gets any significant market share. No chance. 2008, Elon Musk, hours from Tesla and SpaceX going bankrupt simultaneously, borrowing money from friends. Every single one looked irrational. Every single one was building something the world wasn't ready to validate yet. So here is the question. Why does this keep happening? Is it luck? Genius? I don't think so. I think it comes down to identity. And that is what the next 3 principles are about. Here is what Turner's life actually teaches. Not just the wins, but the full picture. Principle number 1. Act on identity, not consensus. The networks had the same information Turner had. They ran the surveys. They saw the cable numbers. Same data, completely different decision. The difference wasn't intelligence. It was identity. Their identity was, we decide what news matters. Turner's was, I built what should exist. Same picture, different self-concept, different action. Here is the application. Ask yourself this week, am I waiting for proof or am I waiting for the right identity? Because proof rarely shows up first. Principle number 2, vision without endurance is just an idea. Everyone talks about Turner's launch. Almost nobody talks about the 5 years of losses that followed. He once said, I just love it when people say, I can't do it. There's nothing that makes me feel better. Because all my life, people have said I wasn't going to make it. That is not bravado. That is what identity-grounded endurance sounds like. When your sense of self isn't tied to early validation, doubts stop being a threat and start being fuel. Here's the application. Think about the vision you've been sitting on. Is it stalled because the proof hasn't arrived or because you haven't decided who you are in the absence of it? Last but not least, principle number 3. Visionary leaders account for the cost. Turner lost nearly $8 billion in the AOL Time Warner collapse. He called it his biggest mistake. I made a mistake. I lost control of the company. He missed years with his kids. This is where most leadership content fails you. It celebrates the wins and skips the wreckage. Real visionary leadership doesn't make you immune to catastrophic decisions. It means your identity survives the loss and you're honest enough to name it. Here is the application. Visionary leaders don't just ask, what am I building? They also ask, what am I willing to lose? And what am I not? Know the difference before you launch. Here is what I want to leave with you. The networks weren't blind. They weren't stupid. They had more resources than Turner. What they didn't have was a different answer to the question that every leader has to face at some point. Who am I when no one else believes it yet? Most leaders wait for proof before they act, not because they lack intelligence, but because their identity depends on being right. If you only move when the outcome is guaranteed, you never have to face the risk of being wrong. That is not strategy. That is self-protection. Turner built CNN from an identity that said, I am the person who built what should exist. And when you know who you are, you don't need permission to begin. Identity forms leaders, and leaders shape outcomes. Mr. Turner, may you rest in peace. Thank you for your contribution to our world, and thank you for leaving it a little better than you found it. I will see you in the next one. God bless.